A Sea of Sorrows by Bookshope21. Chapter 8 The Last Olympian. August 10th, 2008. Camp Half-Blood, Long Island Sound, New York. Percy point of view. I am practicing my sword fighting against a dummy as Beckendorf came to get me for our final attack. We were going to attack the Princess Andromeda, which was heading for New York. It was carrying a couple thousand monsters. If we could destroy the ship, then we would weaken some of Cronus's force. "Are you ready, Percy?" asked Beckendorf, as he helped me climb onto Blackjack before we flew off into the afternoon sun. "Percy, if I don't make it, could you please tell Selina that I love her to the end?" asked Beckendorf, and I said what I thought was right. "Beckendorf, we're gonna get you back." Which made him smile. We flew for hours. The nerves and anxiety was growing in my gut, but I pushed it down because I had to focus on the mission. Soon enough, I could see the familiar shape of the Princess Andromeda. "Boss, are you sure about this?" asked Blackjack. "Get out of here, Blackjack. We'll see you back at camp," I say as he drops us off on the deck, and he flies away into the night sky. The Princess Andromeda was cruising just outside of New Jersey. "Let's split up, and I'll meet you back here in 30 minutes, says Beckendorf as we split up. I quickly grabbed my bag of Reek fire bombs and made my way down to the engine room. I attached the bombs to several parts of the engines. Before I quietly made my way back to the upper decks. I placed bombs along the way. Any monsters that I came across, I quickly got rid of. It had been almost 30 minutes, and I got back to the top deck, which is where I saw Beckendorf being held hostage by several monsters. My attacks against Cronus were slowed by his manipulation of the natural flow of time. "Percy, surrender, and I will spare your mortal family, as well as giving them all the riches that they deserve," says Cronus. "Never, Cronus. I will never surrender, and as far as I'm concerned, the Weasleys have never been my true family." What happened to the boy that I saw as an elder brother?" I say sadly. Cronus gave off a hearty laugh, which broke the last love that I had held for Luke into a million little pieces. "He is dead, and he will never come back. Surrender, Perseus, and I won't bring the wizarding world into this," says Cronus, but I stand my ground. Beckendorf points at his watch, which is the detonator for all of the bombs that we had placed all over the ship. A monster dumps his bag on the ground, which only has cans of peaches. The monsters were angry at him, and Beckendorf presses the button. Jump off the ship, and as the darkness surrounds me, the last thoughts that I have is, "Beckendorf, I'm sorry," before I lost consciousness. I'm not sure how long I've been unconscious for, but when I opened my eyes, I saw Tyson standing over me. "Yeah, your brain works," cries Tyson, and that is when I noticed that I was underwater and in my dad's palace. "Where's Beckendorf?" I asked, as I hoped that he had somehow managed to survive the explosion. My leg that the Hephaestus cabin made for me was gone. I had a wooden leg in my cabin, which could be used as a replacement until after the war. Tyson looked at me sadly, and that is when I knew my answer. "Let's go find Daddy," says Tyson, as we saw to a courtyard towards the battle. I was trying to find a man wearing a Hawaiian t-shirt. That is when a bolt of green light hit a creature. "There's Daddy," says Tyson, as the creature turned into a school of fish. A man swam towards us. "Percy, I know this is not how you normally would see me, but my war against Oceanus has been a trying battle. Oceanus has brought monsters from the depths of the ocean, so ancient that even I have forgotten how to fight them." "My son, do you still have my present?" asked Poseidon. I lifted my cap necklace out of my shirt collar, and he gave me a happy smile. When he saw the gift was still there. "You know when to use it, my son," said Poseidon, as two more figures in armor arrived. One of them was half man and half dolphin, while the other, a female, looked almost like my father. Dolphin have the Cyclops increase weapon production. Our weapons are being destroyed faster than we can use it. Aphrodite, my dear wife, have any of your sisters sided with your father? Asked Poseidon. My lord, none of my sisters have joined my father's side, and many of them have agreed to spy on father for us, said Aphrodite. As she left, Poseidon looked at me. My son, you must return to camp and see the prophecy, said Poseidon, before he had to go and fight another monster. As I swam back to camp, I took one last look at my father as he created a mass of green light. I made it back to camp as fast as I could, and Connor Stoll was the first to spot me arriving on the beach. As other campers ran towards me, I had to find Selena. Selena, I am so sorry, I say, before the head of the Aphrodite camp then breaks down into tears, and Clarice walks her to the big house, for a chocolate. Connor Stoll handed me my wooden leg, which was cleverly hidden under my robes at Hogwarts. Camp had changed so much since my first summer. Now campers were leaving for missions that were almost suicide, and very few would return. Annabeth hugged me, and we walked to the big house. We went to the attic in order to retrieve the prophecy that was made 70 years ago by the Oracle of Delphi. As Annabeth and I descended down the stairs, all cabin councillors were there waiting for me to read the prophecy. Our half-blood of the eldest gods shall reach 16 against all odds, and see the world in endless sleep. The hero soul Crestblade shall reap. A single choice shall end his days, Olympus to preserve or raise. With the prophecy read and Beckendorf's shroud was burned, Mrs. O'Leary greeted me by licking me, and it felt as though I was being licked by a massive sponge with how rough her tongue felt. That is when I saw Nico, and he was arguing with an old satyr. I threatened Linnaeus because he was being stubborn and overall a rude old goat, which was starting to piss me off. I grabbed the Linnaeus by his too small shirt. Listen, Linnaeus, when Cronus attacks, he is going to have packs of hellhounds, so stop being a stubborn, stupid old goat. Find Grover and bring Juniper some news. Now go, I said, and I smirked as he ran away. Percy, you know why I'm here, said Nico seriously, and I knew it was because he wanted to know if I had accepted his deal. I accept, I said, because it would be the only way that I would survive and get to spend another day with my family, which was everyone at camp and maybe Harry. We have to go and visit Luke's mum, said Nico, and when I started to suggest that we take the Pegasi, he instantly disapproved the idea because the Pegasi hated him, and we had instead taken Mrs. O'Leary. Westport, Connecticut, August 13, 2008. Luke's childhood home. As we arrived at the house, I was surprised by it, since I had lived my house in a rather unique house, which was held together by magic. Okay. As we walked up the driveway, I saw all toys of different Greek monsters, which freaked me out. Luke, you've returned, said a woman as she opened the door, and it looked as though she enjoyed sticking stuff into electric outlets for fun. In the kitchen, I saw piles and piles of plastic containers filled with mouldy sandwiches, burnt cookies, and juice. Nico and I left, but that is when we saw a young girl around the age of 8, and she's surrounded by wonderful food. Nico D'Angelo and Percy Weasley, please have a seat, she says, and I sacrificed a portion of my meal to the gods, and that is when it was revealed that she is the goddess Hestia. Perseus, Molly and Arthur Weasley have plans to remove your memory of being a demigod, as well as suppressing your powers, says Hestia, and I frowned in annoyance, as they have never paid attention to me until we began having screaming matches at platform 9 3/4. I no longer see them as family, and I have sworn on the river Styx to never forgive my younger brothers, I say. When Nico and I had finished eating, she disappeared, and it was just us and Mrs. O'Leary. Nico, whatever happens during the war, I need you to tell my brothers Bill and Charlie that I'm sorry and that I love them. I say, and Nico promises to do so for me in case I die. Nico and I land in Central Park, we found Grover sleeping in a tree, and he had been sleeping for months because of the god Morpheus. Grover helps us open Orpheus's tunnel to the underworld. Good luck, Percy, he said before running off in order to find Juniper. Nico and I made it to the underworld, but then it is revealed that Nico was doing it under his father's orders, so that he could learn more about his mother. I'm locked in a jail cell, which is made for dead people. I hear a German screaming in the cell next to me, and I would occasionally hear the sound of gas being released. I sleep for a bit, and Nico helps me escape. We manage to get down to the edge of the river Styx. When we are confronted by Achilles, the famous hero warns us against going into the river because it caused his ultimate demise with an arrow to the heel. I jumped into the river, and it feels as though my entire body is melting into treacle. I focus on my weak point, and I made it the small of my back. When I get out of the river, Nico rushes to feed me nectar and ambrosia, which helps my bright red skin. Soon enough, I have to fight against Hades, and I manage to control the river and sweep away much of his army. I get out of the underworld, and we iris message Annabeth. She and every other camper, except for the Ares cabin, is waiting for us at the Empire State Building. The mortals are all asleep, and Annabeth brings out the video shield, and we see Kronos' army is arriving through water. We make our way up to Mount Olympus, and we see that all of Manhattan is asleep. As we make our way back down, I give each cabin either a bridge or a tunnel to protect, and the hunters of Artemis arrive to take the last bridge. No keeping the phones, I say, as I, along with everyone else, looks at the Hermes cabin, and they slump in defeat over having their thieving ways removed before they could do anything. Bianca and Thalia made their way over to me. Percy, what do you want us to do? Asks Bianca. Bianca, summon armies of skeletons, as many as you can handle without collapsing. While Thalia, I want you to create an electrical field over Manhattan. The electrical field will kill the weaker monsters, and it will weaken Kronos, I say. We got this, Percy. And Nico is sorry that he allowed our father to capture you, but he doesn't remember our mother, and he wants to know more about her, says Bianca, as the demigods go in their separate directions. Annabeth and I make our 2-point where the East and Hudson rivers meet, and I make a deal with the river gods to sink any vehicles carrying monsters. Each side of the river is given half of the sand dollar to help clean it up, even marginally. Annabeth and I make our way to the Williamsburg Bridge in order to help the Apollo cabin. We arrive in time to see the bridge covered in numerous holes. Apollo cabin, fall back, I called as all but one of them got off the bridge in a hurried fashion. I then turned back to the monsters. I'm fighting several dozen monsters at once, and that is when I hear a terrified scream, and I see that Annabeth had taken a knife for me, exactly where my weak spot was. I felt a wave of anger rush through me, which sends a wave of water over the bridge. Will Solus quickly takes Annabeth to our base of operations, as the rest of the Apollo campers run to get off of the bridge, when I stab Riptide through the pavement of the bridge. Water shoots out of the cracks, and the water creates a curtain, and when it is gone, I can faintly see Kronos' troops. I see the Apollo cabins, but their cabin leader, Michael Hughes, is not with them, and that is when I remember that was shooting arrows at the retreating army while I destroyed the bridge. I pushed a sleeping motorcyclist off of his motorcycle, and I drove as fast as I could to the Plaza Hotel, with the rest of the Apollo cabin following me in a car that they found. Kayla Cowles gave me directions to get to the hotel. I rushed to the makeshift infirmary area. Will had just finished treating Annabeth. Will, I'm sorry, but Michael didn't make it, I said, and the 12-year-old demigod just nodded his head before finding the rest of his half-siblings. The hunters of Artemis arrived with Bianca and Thalia being carried. I rushed to give my cousins nectar and ambrosia. They opened their eyes soon after. Percy, what happened? Asked Bianca nervously, as the hunters helped the other injured demigods. The Apollo cabin was overrun with monsters. Annabeth and I made our way over to the bridge. Annabeth saved my life by taking a poisoned dagger to where my Achilles heel is. I say to my cousins. Percy, get some rest. I know that you haven't slept in a week at this point, says Will, as he tucks me in between my cousins, and in an instant I am fast asleep. I took a nap, and when I woke up, Annabeth was awake as well. Thalia, Grover, and I had a talk with Prometheus, in which I was given Pandora's jar. We hid for some of the satyrs, then a massive army of monsters was marching towards Central Park. I rallied the demigods together, and we marched as one, and we formed a makeshift shield at Central Park. No matter what happens, everyone, it has been an honor to fight with you, I say as the monsters attack. Hyperion is leading the group, and at some point in the battle, I lost Riptide, but I see a pond. I use the water in order to form a hurricane in order to stop Hyperion's attacks, with help from Grover and the satyr. Hyperion becomes a tree, but while he was defeated, that left several hundred monsters. I pull out my wand, and I think of the most powerful spell that I know. I point my wand at the monsters. Demigods, get away! Avada Kedavra! I cry as the green spell erupts from my wand. I felt hands on my arms, which only fuels the spell even more as it channels all of our combined sadness, anger, rage, and panic into producing a powerful spell that destroys the monsters. It leaves me feeling incredibly weak. I feel like I am collapsing as Grover and Thalia feed me ambrosia and nectar. Everyone get back to the hotel and bring all the injured to the Empire State Building. That is where the last stand will happen, and no matter what happens, we will stand together, I say. While my fellow demigods and I run to the Empire State Building, I see a helicopter starting to crash, and two figures jump out. I quickly say Wingardium Leviosa in order to slow them down. It's Rachel Dare, and she has her wand ready. Soon enough, a dragon appears, and Rachel tells me, Percy, it can be defeated by a child of Ares. And soon enough, the Ares cabin arrives, and Clarice starts fighting the monsters. Then the real Clarice arrives, as the other Clarice collapses, and it's revealed that it's Selena. Selena shows to all of us that she was the traitor. We all agree that she died a hero. Clarice defeats the dragon. Soon enough, the final push began. Karen was injured by rubble, and the party ponies had run off somewhere to find root beer. Kronos and his remaining monsters approached our army that surrounded the Empire State Building. The mortals began to wake up, but Hades and Nico arrived at the same time. Hello, father, says Hades, and he looks as though he has waited over 2,000 years to say that, which he probably did. Perseus, take Bianca, Annabeth, Nico, Thalia, and Grover to fight my father on Olympus, says Hades, as he summons thousands of zombies to fight the Titan, which gave the demigods a little breathing room. The four children of the big three, as well as Annabeth and Grover, made their way to Olympus. Thalia pushed Annabeth out of the way of a falling statue, but the statue trapped her instead. I duel Kronos, and I am not backing down. Nico and Bianca summoned skeletons to help their father. I hear a mighty roar from the Hudson River, and just moments later, the gods flash into the room. I manage to disarm Luke, and I have him at sword point. It's over, Luke, I say, and Annabeth hands me her dagger. This is when I remember a certain line in the prophecy. The hero's soul cursed blade shall reap. Luke had promised Annabeth that he would always protect her, and he had failed. I give him the dagger, and he stabs his weak spot. The gods appear in their armor, expecting to see two demigods fighting. The demigods who were on the streets are now on Olympus. The gods give us rewards for our hard work. Grover is made Lord of the Wild. Thalia and Bianca will have more hunters. Tyson is a general in the Cyclops army. Annabeth became the official architect of Olympus. Perseus Weasley, cries Poseidon, as Bianca and Nico help me to kneel in front of the gods. I get offered immortality, but I insist not force the gods to accept their demigods by the age of 13, and to also have cabins for minor gods and Hades. Then I hear the worst possible news. Rachel has taken blackjack and she has entered camp. We arrive at camp and Rachel becomes the new oracle. Her first prophecy is given. 7 half-bloods shall answer the call. To storm or fire the world must fall, an oath to keep with a final breath, and foes bear arms to the doors of death. So Annie, shall we? I ask my beautiful girlfriend, as we share a deep kiss with one another. When did you start dating? Clarice basically screams at us, as the campers stare at us in shock. We started dating after the quest where we met Bianca and Nico, I say. The Hephaestus cabin crafts me a new leg, which makes getting around a lot easier. I was ready for my 6th year at Hogwarts, and I was ready to be graduating from Hogwarts soon. I had a feeling that the gods weren't done with messing up with our lives anytime soon. 2 days before I was to return to England for my 6th year, I received a red envelope. Cover your ears, I say, before Molly's voice explodes from the envelope. Percival Ignatius Weasley, I am your mother, and you shall do as I say, which does mean that you will be returning to the Burrow for Christmas holidays. I have allowed you to have your own way for far too long. When you finish your 7th year, Arthur has gotten you a position in his department at the Ministry of Magic. You are to cut off all contact with your mudblood friends and get married to a nice witch, screams Molly. All of the campers look horrified at how loud she was. Percy, was that banshee? Jokes Will, which leads to the demigods laughing because Molly sounds like a banshee. Once the laughter had settled down, Karen stood up. Thanks for listening. There's like 2 more chapters left, 9 and 10. Why are they so long? Why did I decide to do a 30,000 one? I could have gone with 20,000. But here I am. I need to get water. Why did I start recording without water again? This is so stupid. Thanks for listening.